As we speak, Donald Trump is wrapping up a disastrous press conference in the Oval Office, surrounded by sycophants just constantly kissing his ass. And there were many questions from reporters about a variety of subjects, but the biggest one is obviously Trump's disastrous war with Iran, his nearly equally disastrous memorandum of understanding, and the nearly equally disastrous negotiations that J.D. Vance had on Trump's behalf with Iran in Switzerland this weekend. And Trump did not handle those questions well, full of bluster and lies. And then, of course, at one point, he got triggered into a full-blown meltdown by a perfectly reasonable question. And we have to talk about all of that. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, let's start with the one that triggered a meltdown by Trump, lashing out at the reporter for daring to ask a perfectly reasonable question.
For you, Mr. President?
Say it.
Does that give them leverage, the Iranians leverage over you?
Oh, you're so leverage. You know, their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their leaders are all dead. Their whole country's a mess. Their economy is shot. The Times, the fake New York Times said, oh, it's about the same as it was 4 months ago. No, 4 months ago they had a Navy, 159 ships to be exact. It's gone. The whole Navy's gone. Their 250 airplanes, all gone. Their anti-aircraft is gone. Their radar is gone. These guys love radar. Their radar is gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. Their whole country is gone. And the Times said, oh, they're about the same as they were 4 months ago. The reason the news is doing so badly, or let's put it another way, the reason that I won in a landslide, even though I got 92% negative press, all fake press, is because nobody believes the press anymore. And they have to start believing. You know, when the Times and a couple of others, they're grasping for straws. When they say that Iran is about the same as it was 4 months. 4 months ago, they had a powerful Navy, they had a powerful Air Force. You know, most of their missiles are gone. Most of their launching pads are gone. Most of their manufacturing capacity for drones and missiles is gone. About 87% gone. And then I hear, oh, they're in such great shape. No, they're gone. And their first level of leaders, gone. Their second level of leaders, gone. Their third level of leaders, you have to hear the conversations. Who wants to be president? Well, I don't want it. Nobody wants to be president. And then we have to read that they're doing well. They're doing so badly. In the meantime, we're setting records. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. We have 18 to 19 trillion dollars being poured into our country. We're building factories all over the place. We have more people working today than at any time in the history of our country at higher salaries. So when you ask a question like that, it's so stupid.
Mr. President.
There's a great line from My Cousin Vinny where Joe Pesci's character stands up giving his opening statement, and he goes after the prosecutor, and then he says, everything that guy said there was bullshit. That's basically what I have to say about Trump. So we are not at prime labor force participation, number one. Number two, inflation is outpacing wage growth, so there's nothing to boast about in terms of American people's wages. Trump, of course, has caused the American people's wages to be less impactful, less significant, because his inflation has gotten worse. So they're having to spend more of their paychecks actively because of decisions he's made. Furthermore, we don't have the best economy in the history of our nation, nowhere close. And if it were, Trump would be doing extremely well in the polls. He's not. He's actually getting the worst marks for an economy of any modern president, worse than President Biden did. Furthermore, he didn't win in a landslide. He's run for president 3 times. He lost one of those elections, both the Electoral College and the popular vote, by 7 million votes. The first election he won, he didn't win the popular vote. He lost it by 3.5 million votes, but won the Electoral College. This time he won the popular vote and the Electoral College, that's true, but he didn't even win a popular vote majority. He won more than Kamala Harris, but more people voted against Trump than voted for him, if you count Kamala Harris and third-party candidates in writing Kansas. He didn't even make 50%. Wasn't a landslide. Now, with respect to the claims he made about Iran, here's what you should ask yourself. If everything Trump said was true, and that their leaders are gone, their country's gone, everything's gone, no missiles, set aside the fact that all of that's been contradicted by the reporting. Set aside the fact that the Trump Defense Department has said actually no, the vast majority of their pre-war ballistic missile arsenal remains in effect. So Trump was lying. Said all of that aside, if what Trump said is true, and that you've decimated their leaders, their Navy, their Army, their manufacturing capability, their economy, their drones, their missiles, if all of that is true, why are you negotiating with them? You insisted that there was a, quote, unconditional surrender. That's what you would accept. You would only accept an unconditional surrender. Why are you negotiating with them, talking about giving them back $24 billion in unfrozen assets, $300 billion in a reconstruction fund, letting them sell oil sanction-free? They're going to make billions of dollars off that. All of the things that's pissed off both the left and the right. The left because we don't believe we should have been in this war in the first place. The right believes we should have been in this war but believe you lost it. Why are you negotiating with people you've utterly annihilated? Unless, of course, you didn't utterly annihilate them and they do have leverage over you and you just hope people don't notice. Well, everybody's noticed. The left's noticed, the right's noticed. You lost this war and you're losing the negotiations. You've been humiliated in real time, and Trump is pissed off that people are noticing. Get over it. Be better at negotiating. Be better at making war. You suck at both. You shouldn't have started this war. But I digress. We could spend an entire video on that. Let's hear more from Trump.
Through the Hormuz Strait, we took in more oil yesterday than has ever gone through the strait. You probably see that. We have an oil gusher. The strait is totally open. You know that?
No, actually, the reporting is that once again, traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has shrunk to embarrassingly low levels. No, the facts are contradicting you. Speaking of facts, here's Trump apparently not knowing what's going on within his own administration.
On Iranian oil today, sir? Treasury lifted sanctions on Iranian oil today.
Well, I'm going to have to find out exactly the status, but if the sanctions go out, money's going to be put into this country. All that money's coming back in the form of purchases of food, which they desperately need. They have 91 million people. They can't feed them. So the money that we lift is going to go to our farmers, largely to our farmers.
So he doesn't even know the status of whether or not the Treasury Department has lifted sanctions, even though that is indeed reported by the media. He doesn't know what's going on in his own government because he's not actually hands-on at all. And actually, we might need to be thankful for that, given how stupid he is and the state of his physical and mental decline. We might be better off, believe it or not, having an absentee president as opposed to a hands-on one, given how terrible he is.
It's a lot of money.
If the war with Iran could cause a worldwide depression, as you noted, Mr. President, are you willing to risk economic catastrophe and strike Iran again?
Well, not the way I'm doing it. It's not going to cause depression.
Yes, but if they don't abide by the
Well,
memorandum of
nuclear
understanding.
weapon supersedes depression. Depression's real bad. Nuclear weapon will cause depression much more quickly. The way we're doing it, we have the opposite of a depression. We're doing really well. The numbers are incredible. The oil is at a level that nobody's ever.
The oil is not a level that nobody's ever seen. The numbers are not doing well. That's why your numbers on the economy are atrocious. Again, people miss the Biden economy. I mean, Democrats were shellacked as far as like losing control in terms of a rightward shift. No, you didn't win in a landslide election, but pretty much every county in the nation shifted to the right. We lost not only the House and the Senate and the presidency, but half of the Democratic Party started to hate the other half of the Democratic Party. And a lot of that has to do with the referendum on the Biden economy. Inflation was still considered too high by the American people, and they were willing to bring you back into power, thinking that you would get it under control because you promised you would. Your numbers are worse than Biden's in poll after poll after poll after poll after poll. The American people are like, yeah, give me Joe Biden any day of the week. You know how bad you have to suck at managing the economy to have worse economic approval rating than Joe Biden? And you do? Embarrassing.
Here's another beauty. What's this one?
Well,
here's a real beauty.
earlier
Go
today,
ahead.
the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point.
Who did he tell that to you?
He said it publicly in Israel.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't?
Well, I'm not going to
sabotage
tell
the
you
deal?
what I'm going to do, but it gets solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problem solved real fast.
No, he doesn't. He is a problem creator. He does not solve problems. That's the problem. But again, but who said that? Did he tell you that? No, he said it publicly. Oh, well, look at that. Well, look at that. Okay, but again, what are you going to do to leash Netanyahu? Netanyahu says He's not party to the memorandum of understanding, and Israel will do whatever they goddamn well please. That's the posture at least he's taking publicly. Do you have the charisma? Do you have the juice to bring Netanyahu to heel? I don't know. All I know is that Iran has said if Israel keeps attacking Lebanon, it's a violation of the ceasefire, which it factually is. By the way, it was back in March when the first ceasefire was announced, March or April. Pakistan also said that Lebanon had to be subject to the ceasefire, meaning Israel had to stop attacking Lebanon. It didn't just, wasn't just between the United States and Israel directly. It also applied to Israel and Lebanon, and Israel continued to violate the ceasefire. And thus, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz again. It caused a chain of economic consequences. People are asking perfectly valid questions what you plan to do about it, and your answers kind of suck.
Job. Our secretary is fantastic. I think he's maybe going to go down as the best ever. And I thought J.D. Vance this morning was fantastic. I watched his news conference, and from Switzerland, he's a very smart guy. Did a great job. When I look at the Democrats, I call them the Democrats. They're dumb. The Democrats. When I watched that, where one of them thought it was World War XI. She said World War XI. She read World War II. You know about that, right? This is one of their potential leaders, Ilhan Omar, who married her brother to get into the country, by the way, illegally. But when I watch AOC, have no idea on a simple question, what happened when she was over in Switzerland, which she probably never went there before, but she was. And then I watch somebody like JD or Marco. I said, what a difference. What a difference. What a difference a brain makes.
Mr. President.
So, coming from Donald Trump of all people, who can't answer questions, who, by the way, went viral during the 2024 campaign because he forgot which of the world wars had most recently occurred. He kept saying, if Kamala gets elected, we're going to have World War II. Well, World War II happened, back in 1939, right? Happened in the late 30s, early 40s. So what are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? And who are you to start smack talking AOC? You can say what you want about AOC's moments, but she would absolutely smoke Trump in terms of like civics knowledge or knowledge of government. Donald Trump is one of the least educated, most openly stupid politicians in America's history. He can't answer basic questions without having an army of advisors about anything related to the government. He probably couldn't tell you how many branches of government we have. He couldn't tell you how many senators we have, how many members of the House of Representatives, how many justices sit on the Supreme Court. He just doesn't know anything about anything. So of all people to lecture AOC, it ain't you.
President, regarding the other... It's the one-year anniversary of Operation Midnight Hammer. If you could go back in time, is there anything you would do differently?
No.
Nothing at
It was
all?
the most successful attack that anyone's ever seen with a bomber that totally wiped out their nuclear potential. If we didn't do that, you'd have no Israel right now.
You see how he can't help but lie his fucking ass off? If last year's Operation Midnight Hammer totally obliterated their nuclear potential, then that means you never needed to start this war. You see how he once again contradicts himself because he can't help but lie his ass off? It can't just be, we had a successful strike and it delayed them by several months. No, totally obliterated their nuclear potential. But also we had to start a second war because that nuclear potential was there. We obliterated it, but also we didn't obliterate it. It's Schrodinger's obliteration. I get the credit for obliterating it, but also there's enough that wasn't obliterated because it wasn't totally obliterated. So there was some potential there that we didn't obliterate, even though we totally obliterated it, that we had to start a second war to obliterate it for realsies this time. This is the problem. This is part of the reason why the American people have never supported this war, because Trump lied. He lied about the success of the last operation, despite all the evidence to the contrary. He lied about the predicate for this particular war, and he's lying about the success of this war. He lost this war. He's losing the negotiation, and he didn't obliterate their nuclear potential in this war or the last one. Totally humiliating, totally embarrassing even for Trump, and this isn't going to help his sales pitch to the American people. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.